Code blue. Room 4, the shouts pierce through the chaos of the emergency room. I'm floating above my own body, watching as doctors and nurses rush around me in a desperate dance to save my life. The heart monitor's steady beep has turned into a haunting flatline. She's crashing. Starting chest compressions, Dr. Sarah Evans's voice is firm but urgent as her hands press rhythmically against my chest. My dark hair spreads across the white hospital pillow, streaked with blood. The fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows on my pale face. BP's dropping. We're losing her, another voice calls out. Through some strange mercy, I feel no pain, only a detached curiosity as I watch them fight for my life. Clear, the defibrillator sends my body arching off the table once, twice. The monitor continues its mournful tone. Just 3 hours earlier, I was driving to Riverbend Elementary, where I've taught 3rd grade for 5 years. The autumn leaves were falling like tears of gold and crimson. My mind was heavy with thoughts of Tommy, my student, and the bruises I'd noticed on his arms. The report I'd finally decided to file sat in my bag beside me. I remember the rain-slick road, the sharp curve I'd driven hundreds of times before, the sudden loss of control. Time seemed to slow as my car spun towards the massive oak tree. In that moment, I saw Emma's face, my sister, lost to cancer 10 years ago. I saw Tommy's fearful eyes when I asked about his bruises. I saw the homeless man I'd ignored just yesterday, his outstretched hand a silent plea I'd refused to acknowledge. The impact came with a deafening crash. Glass shattered like diamonds across my lap. Metal screamed as it folded around me. The last thing I heard was someone calling my name, Cla. Now, as I hover between life and death in the emergency room, watching Dr. Evans prepare for one final attempt to restart my heart, I realize something profound. This isn't just about survival. This is about redemption. Please, God, I hear Dr. Evans whisper, though I'd long since stopped believing in prayer. Give her another chance. The defibrillator charges one last time. The sound fills the room like thunder before a storm. Clear. My body arches. The monitor hesitates, then beeps. Once, twice. A rhythm establishes itself, weak but steady. We've got her back, Dr. Evans breathes, relief evident in her voice. She's fighting. What they don't know, what I'm just beginning to understand, is that my journey isn't ending here, it's just beginning. Because in those moments between life and death, I saw something that would change everything. I saw Jesus, and he had a message for me. But first, I had to die to truly learn how to live. This story of faith, redemption, and divine love awaits you. Subscribe now to unlock more life-changing moments between heaven and earth. I never thought I'd be the kind of teacher who keeps secrets. But here I am, sitting at my desk at Riverbend Elementary, staring at the bruises on Tommy Mitchell's arms while memories of my own past weigh heavily on my heart. 10 years ago, I lost my sister Emma to an aggressive form of leukemia. She was only 16, full of dreams and light, while I was 20. Watching helplessly as cancer stole her away. The day she died, I also lost my faith. How could a loving God take someone so pure so young? The questions haunted me, turned my heart bitter. I stopped going to church, stopped praying, stopped believing. My name is Cla Hartman, and at 30, I've built a life that looks perfect from the outside. I teach 3rd grade, live in a cozy house on Maple Street, and smile at all the right moments. My colleagues call me dedicated. Parents trust me with their children. Nobody sees the emptiness I carry inside, the void where faith used to live. Emma's death changed everything. Before, I was the girl who led youth group prayers and volunteered at soup kitchens. Now, I'm the woman who walks past homeless people without meeting their eyes, who keeps her distance from others' pain. It's easier that way, safer. But Tommy's different. His eyes hold the same haunted look Emma's did near the end, not from illness, but from something just as sinister. The bruises appear weekly, always with the same excuse: I fell or I was playing too rough. At 8 years old, he's already mastered the art of hiding his pain, just like I have. My classroom is my sanctuary, decorated with bright posters and student artwork. It's where I pretend everything's normal, where I teach multiplication tables and grammar rules as if they're the most important things in the world. But lately, every time I look at Tommy, I hear Emma's voice, Cla, you have to help him. You can't let another light go out. The irony doesn't escape me. I became a teacher because I wanted to make a difference, to protect children the way I couldn't protect Emma. Yet here I am, paralyzed by fear and doubt, watching history repeat itself in a different form. My colleagues notice something's wrong. Sarah, the fourth grade teacher next door, keeps asking if I'm okay. Principal Stevens mentioned that I seem distracted lately. They don't understand that every time I look at Tommy, I see two stories unfolding, his and mine, pain and powerlessness intertwined. The photos of Emma still hang in my living room, her at 15, radiant at her last Christmas concert, her in the hospital, thin but smiling, holding my hand. Sometimes late at night I talk to him, asking for guidance, forgiveness, strength. It's the closest thing to prayer I allow myself these days. The truth is, I'm not just failing Tommy, I'm failing myself, failing Emma's memory, failing the person I used to be. The person who believed in something bigger than herself, who trusted that everything happened for a reason, who had the courage to stand up for what was right. This morning, like every morning, I arrived early to prepare my classroom. Tommy was already there, sitting alone on the playground, long sleeves pulled down despite the warm weather. Our eyes met through the window, and in that moment I saw something that shattered my carefully constructed walls. Hope. Hope that someone would finally see, finally act, finally care enough to help. I've spent 10 years running from faith, from responsibility, from the pain of losing someone I couldn't save. But as I watched Tommy pretend everything's fine, I realized that maybe God hasn't given up on me yet. Maybe this is my chance at redemption, my opportunity to make right what went wrong with Emma. The question is, do I have the courage to take it? Can I face my own demons to fight someone else's? The report form sits in my desk drawer, blank but heavy with possibility. All it would take is a few minutes to fill it out, to set something in motion that could change Tommy's life and maybe, just maybe, save my soul in the process. Little did I know, as I sat there wrestling with my conscience, that the next 24 hours would change everything. God, it seems, had plans for me that went far beyond anything I could have imagined. But first I had to make a choice, one that would set in motion events I never could have predicted. The bruises on Tommy's arms tell a story I don't want to read. Today's marks are fresher than last week's, purple and angry against his pale skin. He flinches when Marcus accidentally bumps his desk during math, and my heart shatters a little more. In my 10 years of teaching, I've never felt so torn between duty and fear. I remember the first time I noticed something was wrong. It was during PE class 3 months ago. Tommy's sleeve rode up as he reached for a basketball, revealing finger-shaped marks that had no place on an 8-year-old's skin. When I asked him about it, he gave me that practice smile, the same one I used to give when people asked how I was coping after Emma's death. I fell off my bike, he said, but his eyes told a different story. Since then, I've been keeping a secret journal, documenting every mark, every wince, every unexplained absence. It's hidden in my bottom desk drawer, underneath old lesson plans and Christmas cards. 23 incidents in 3 months. 23 times I should have spoken up, but didn't. The other teachers have started to notice too. During lunch break, Sarah from 4th grade pulls me aside. "Cla, something's not right with that boy," she whispers, concern etching lines around her eyes. "Have you thought about reporting it?" I nod, but the words stick in my throat. Of course I've thought about it. I think about it every night when I lie awake, Emma's voice echoing in my memory. Sometimes being brave means doing the scary thing, sis. The truth is, I'm terrified. Not just of being wrong, but of being right. I've seen what happens when the system fails children. My cousin works in child services. Sometimes reporting abuse makes things worse before they get better. Sometimes it doesn't get better at all. But today was different. During art class, Tommy drew a picture, a small figure huddled in a dark corner while a larger shadow loomed overhead. When I asked him about it, tears welled up in his eyes before he quickly crumpled the paper and threw it away. I retrieved it later, smoothed it out, and added it to my documentation. Principal Stevens visited my classroom after school, her face grave. "Mrs. Hartman, we need to talk about Tommy Mitchell," she said, closing the door behind her. His father called again, asking why we're asking so many questions about their home life. My hands trembled as I pulled out my journal. "Look at these dates, these incidents," I said, my voice stronger than I felt. "This isn't normal. This isn't right." She studied the pages, her expression darkening. You know his father, James Mitchell, is a respected paramedic in this community. These are serious allegations. I know, I whispered, thinking of how many lives Mr. Mitchell might have saved, wondering how many bruises he'd left on his son. Now, sitting alone in my classroom as sunset paints the walls orange, I face the hardest decision of my life. The blank report form mocks me from my desk. Filing it means possibly saving Tommy, but it also means confronting my own demons, my failure to save Emma, my lost faith, my fear of standing up against evil. My phone buzzes a text from Mark, my husband, dinner's ready. Coming home soon. I text back, just finishing up, but I know I can't leave yet, not until I make this choice. Tommy's eyes haunt me, the same desperate hope I saw in Emma's when she asked if the doctors could make her better. I failed her then, watching helplessly as cancer took her away. But this time I can do something. With trembling fingers, I reach for the report form. Outside my window, a homeless man I often see shuffles past the school, his cardboard sign faded and worn. Our eyes meet briefly, and something in his gaze reminds me of Jesus in the paintings from my childhood church, gentle, knowing, full of silent challenge. God, I whisper, the word foreign on my tongue after so many years, if you're there, if you're listening, give me strength. As I begin to fill out the form, I have no way of knowing that this decision will set in motion events that will change not just Tommy's life or mine, but the very way I understand love, faith, and redemption. But first, I have to find the courage to do what I couldn't do for Emma, stand up against darkness, no matter the cost. The clock on my classroom wall reads 6:47 p.m. when I finally finish the report. My hands are shaking, but my heart feels strangely steady. 4 pages detailing every bruise, every flinch, every suspicious absence. 3 months of observations condensed into cold, clinical language that barely captures the horror of what Tommy's enduring. Child exhibits consistent patterns of unexplained injuries, I read aloud, my voice trembling in the empty classroom. Multiple instances of defensive behavior, the words feel inadequate, but they're all I have. I think about James Mitchell, Tommy's father, respected paramedic and pillar of the community. Just last month, he received an award for saving a family from a house fire. The local paper called him a hero. How many people would believe he could hurt his own son? As I place the report in my bag, my phone rings. It's Sarah. Did you do it? She asks without preamble. She knows me too well. Yes, I whisper, surprised by the strength in my voice. I'm submitting it first thing tomorrow morning. Do you want me to come with you? I close my eyes, grateful for her offer, but knowing this is something I need to do alone. No, but thank you. I need to do this myself. For Tommy. For Emma. The drive home is surreal. The setting sun paints the sky in shades of purple and gold, reminding me of Tommy's bruises. At a red light, I spot the homeless man again, the one who always reminds me of the Jesus paintings. He's huddled under the overpass, his cardboard sign reading "God bless" for the first time in years. I roll down my window and hold out a $20 bill. God bless you, he says, his eyes meeting mine with unexpected clarity. Something about his gaze makes my skin prickle. At home, Mark knows something's wrong the moment I walk in. 10 years of marriage have given him a sixth sense about my moods. Rough day, he asks, pulling me into a hug. I bury my face in his chest and finally let the tears come. Between sobs, I tell him everything about Tommy, the report, my fears. He holds me tighter, his heartbeat steady against my ear. You're doing the right thing, he says firmly. Emma would be proud. That night, I can't sleep. I toss and turn, haunted by visions of Tommy's frightened eyes and Emma's final days. Around midnight, I get up and go to my home office, where I keep Emma's last letter to me. I haven't read it in years, it hurts too much, but tonight feels different. Dear Cla, it begins in her shaky handwriting. I know you're angry at God for what's happening to me, but don't let my death steal your light. You were meant to shine, to help others, to be brave when others can't be. Promise me you won't let fear win. Tears blur my vision as I read her words. I love you, big sister, and I'll be watching over you, cheering you on from heaven. Be the hero I know you are. Love, Emma. I fall asleep at my desk, the letter clutched to my chest, and dream of Emma. In the dream, she's healthy again, radiant with life. It's time. Cla, she says, smiling. Time to remember who you are. When my alarm goes off at 6:30 a.m., I feel different, stronger. The report sits in my bag, ready to be delivered. Outside, storm clouds gather on the horizon, but I'm not afraid. For the first time in 10 years, I feel my sister's presence with me, urging me forward. What I don't know as I prepare for this pivotal day is that my decision to help Tommy will set in motion events far beyond anything I could imagine. God, it seems, has been waiting for this moment, waiting for me to take this first step back toward faith, toward purpose, toward redemption. Looking back now, I wonder if some part of me knew what was coming. If that's why I spent extra time getting ready, why I hugged Mark a little longer before leaving, why I paused to really look at Emma's photo by the door. But hindsight, as they say, is 20/20. And I had no way of knowing that this morning would be the last normal moment of my old life or the first moment of something extraordinary. The morning air holds the crisp bite of autumn as I pull out of my driveway. Last night's storm has left the road slick, scattered leaves clinging to the wet pavement like desperate prayers. The report sits heavy in my bag on the passenger seat, its presence both a comfort and a terror. 6:45 a.m. my hands grip the steering wheel tighter than usual. The radio plays softly, some morning show host talking about the weather, but I barely hear it. My mind keeps drifting to Tommy, imagining his face when he realizes someone finally stood up for him. Will he be relieved? Scared? Will his father somehow know it was me? The familiar route to Riverbend Elementary feels different today. Each turn, each stoplight seems charged with meaning. I pass the homeless man's usual spot under the bridge, but he's not there this morning. Somehow, his absence feels significant. My phone buzzes a text from Sarah, thinking of you today. You've got this. I don't reply, but her support wraps around me like a warm blanket. The clock reads 7:02 a.m. when I turn onto Forest Road, the winding stretch that leads to school. That's when I see a deer standing motionless in the middle of the road, its eyes reflecting my headlights like twin moons. I brake gently, remembering all those driver's ed lessons about wet roads and sudden stops. The deer bounds away, but something about its presence leaves me unsettled. 7:05 a.m. the rain starts again, a gentle mist that makes the world seem soft and blurry. I turn on my wipers, adjust my speed. Through the streaked windshield, the autumn trees blur into a canvas of reds and golds. Emma loved this time of year. It's like God's painting the world just for us, she used to say. The sharp curve ahead is one I've driven thousands of times. Today, though, something's different. Maybe it's the wet leaves, maybe it's fate, maybe it's divine intervention. As I begin to turn, I feel the car's wheels lose their grip on the road. Time slows to a crawl. I see everything with crystal clarity, the oak tree looming ahead, the report sliding off the passenger seat, my hands frozen on the wheel. In that eternal moment, memories flash through my mind like lightning. Emma in her hospital bed, squeezing my hand, promised me, "You'll stay strong." Tommy's bruised arms, "I just fell, Mrs. Hartman." The homeless man's knowing eyes, "God bless you." I try to regain control, but the car has its own ideas. It slides sideways, graceful as a dancer, straight toward the massive oak tree. In these final seconds, I do something I haven't done in 10 years, I pray. "God," I whisper, "please help me save Tommy." The impact comes with a sound like the end of the world. Metal screams, glass shatters, and pain explodes through my body. The airbag hits me like a fist, and darkness crowds the edges of my vision. Through the broken windshield, I see leaves falling like tears from heaven. As consciousness fades, I hear sirens in the distance. Someone's running toward my car, shouting into a radio. Through the haze of pain and shock, I make out his face, James Mitchell, Tommy's father, in his paramedic uniform. Our eyes meet through the cracked glass, and in that moment I see recognition dawn in his expression. The last thing I hear before the darkness takes me is his voice, "Hold on, Mrs. Hartman. Just hold on." Then everything goes black, and I begin the journey that will change not just my life, but the lives of everyone around me. A journey that will take me to the very edge of death and back, showing me truths I never imagined and teaching me lessons about love, faith, and redemption that I desperately needed to learn. But first, I have to die. The report about Tommy's abuse lies scattered across my car's floor, its pages stained with my blood, a testament to the price of doing the right thing, and the beginning of a story that's far from over. The first thing I notice is the silence. Not the absence of sound, but a different kind of quiet, like being underwater, where everything is muffled and distant. I'm floating above my crushed car, watching the scene unfold below, as if it's a movie playing in slow motion. James Mitchell, Tommy's father, works frantically to stabilize my body. His hands, the same hands that left bruises on his son, now move with gentle precision as he checks my vital signs. The irony isn't lost on me, even in this surreal state. BP's dropping fast, he shouts to the arriving EMTs. Possible internal bleeding, his voice carries an edge of desperation I've never heard before. From my vantage point, I can see my body slumped against the steering wheel, blood trickling from a gash on my forehead. The report about Tommy lies scattered across the floor, some pages visible through the shattered driver's side window. More emergency vehicles arrive, their lights painting the wet road in alternating red and blue. A crowd begins to gather, other motorists, early morning joggers, people drawn to the scene of tragedy like moths to flame. Among them I spot the homeless man from the overpass. He stands apart from the others, his eyes fixed not on my broken car, but directly at me, the me that's floating above it all. That's when I notice something extraordinary. Everyone below is surrounded by a soft glow, an aura of different colors and intensities. James Mitchell's is a turbulent mix of deep red and murky gray, while the homeless man radiates a pure, white light that seems to pulse with each breath. "Stay with us," James's voice cuts through the ethereal silence as they work to extract my body from the wreckage. "Come on, fight." The urgency in his voice carries a weight beyond professional duty. Does he recognize me? Does he know about the report? I watch as they finally free me from the twisted metal. My body looks small and broken on the stretcher, nothing like the strong, determined teacher who left home this morning. Blood soaks through my blue blouse, Emma's favorite color. She always said it brought out my eyes. The homeless man steps forward, unnoticed by the emergency workers. He bends down and picks up one of the scattered report pages. For a moment his eyes scan the words I wrote about Tommy, about the bruises, about the fear. Then he looks up at me again, and his smile holds all the warmth and compassion of a summer sunrise. "It's time," he says, his voice carrying clearly despite the chaos below. "You've taken the first step. Now there's more to learn." The world begins to shift around me. The accident scene grows distant, like a painting viewed through layers of gauze. The lights of the emergency vehicles blur into stars, and the sound of sirens fades into a haunting melody I've never heard before but somehow know by heart. I feel a pulling sensation, gentle but insistent, drawing me upward. Fear mingles with curiosity in my chest, or whatever passes for a chest in this state. Below, I hear James Mitchell shouting, "We're losing her." The words should terrify me, but instead they feel like a release. The homeless man's light grows brighter, expanding until it threatens to engulf everything. In its radiance, I begin to understand what's happening. This isn't just a near-death experience or a hallucination brought on by trauma. This is something more profound, more purposeful. "Your sister's been waiting," the homeless man says, his form beginning to shift and change. "And there's someone else who wants to talk to you about Tommy." The light becomes blinding, but I can't look away. In its brilliance, I see flashes of Emma's face, of Tommy's bruised arms, of all the moments I chose fear over faith. The pulling sensation intensifies, and I feel myself rising higher, leaving behind the broken car, the scattered report, and the life I thought I knew. What awaits me in that light will change everything, my understanding of love, of purpose, of redemption. But first, I have to let go of everything I think I know about life, death, and the space in between. The last thing I hear before the light claims me completely is James Mitchell's voice, thick with tears. "Please, God, don't let her die. Not like this. Not before I can make things right." The light envelops me completely now, warm and alive in a way I've never experienced before. It's not just brightness, it's pure love made visible, wrapping around me like a mother's embrace. As my eyes adjust, I realize I'm not alone. He stands before me, his presence both overwhelming and gentle. Not like the stern Jesus in my childhood church's stained glass windows, but real, vibrant, alive with a love so profound it brings tears to my ethereal eyes. The homeless man's features have transformed, yet somehow I recognize him instantly. This is who he truly was all along. Cla says, and my name in his voice sounds like a song, like a prayer, like forgiveness itself. You've been running for so long. His words pierce straight to my heart. 10 years of doubt, anger, and fear crash over me like waves. I couldn't save her, I whisper, thinking of Emma. I couldn't save Tommy. I keep failing everyone. Jesus steps closer, and the light around him pulses with each movement. Is that what you think? That you failed? His eyes hold such tenderness that I have to look away. Look at me, Cla, really look. When I meet his gaze again, something extraordinary happens. I see myself through his eyes, every moment of kindness I've shown my students, every silent prayer I thought went unheard, every tear I shed for Emma, every time I wanted to help but held back out of fear. He sees it all, and instead of judgment, there is only love. But I lost my faith, I protest, the words catching in my throat. After Emma died, I turned my back on you. I stopped believing. He smiles, and it's like watching the sun rise. You never lost your faith, Cla, you just buried it beneath your pain. Even today, driving to school with that report, you were acting on faith in justice, faith in doing what's right, faith in the possibility of healing. The mention of the report brings Tommy's face to my mind. Is he going to be okay? Did I do enough? Your part in Tommy's story isn't over, Jesus replies, his voice gentle but firm. But first, there are things you need to understand. About Emma, about yourself, about why I've brought you here. The light around us shifts, creating what looks like a doorway made of pure radiance. Through it, I catch glimpses of scenes from my life, moments I'd forgotten, choices I'd made, intersections of pain and possibility I'd never recognized before. I'm scared, I admit, the confession feeling like both a surrender and a release. I know, he says, reaching out his hand, but perfect love casts out fear. Do you trust me? The question hangs in the light between us. Do I trust him? After 10 years of anger, of doubt, of turning away, but as I look at his outstretched hand, I remember Emma's last letter, don't let fear win. Yes, I whisper and take his hand. His touch feels like coming home, like finding a piece of myself I didn't know was missing. The light surrounds us completely now, and I feel myself being drawn through the radiant doorway. Behind us, I can still faintly hear the sirens, the desperate work of the medical team, James Mitchell's prayers mixing with my own sister's voice. There's so much to show you, Jesus says as we move through the light. So much love you've never let yourself feel. So much purpose you haven't yet embraced. The world around us begins to transform, and I understand that this is more than a near-death experience. This is an awakening, a rebirth, a chance to see truth in its purest form. Through his eyes, I will witness the ripples of love that connect all things, the divine purpose behind every moment of pain and joy. Are you ready, he asks, though he already knows my answer. I squeeze his hand, feeling strength flow into me, not my own strength, but his. Yes, I say again, stronger this time. Show me everything. And so begins my journey into the heart of divine love, guided by the one I'd spent so long running from. About to learn truths that would forever change how I understand life, death, and the incredible power of redemption. The light shifts and swirls around us as Jesus leads me through what feels like a corridor of living memory. Each step reveals new scenes from my life, moments I'd forgotten or tried to forget, all bathed in that otherworldly radiance that seems to reveal their true significance. Watch, he says softly, gesturing to a scene unfolding before us. I see myself at 7 years old sharing my lunch with a crying classmate. Another step shows me at 16, holding Emma's hand through her first chemotherapy session. Then there's last week when I stayed late to help Tommy with his math, knowing he was afraid to go home. You see only the failures, Jesus says, his voice gentle but firm. But I see every act of love, every moment of courage, every time you chose kindness over indifference. But it wasn't enough, I whisper, watching the scenes flow past. Emma still died. Tommy's still suffering. I've made so many mistakes. He stops and turns to face me, his eyes holding a depth of understanding that takes my breath away. Do you remember what I told Martha when Lazarus died? I am the resurrection, and the life. Death is not the end, Cla, and suffering is not the final word. The scene changes and suddenly we're in Emma's hospital room on her last day. I watch myself collapse by her bed, crying as the monitors flatline. But now I see something I couldn't see then, a light, brilliant and beautiful, rising from her body. Emma, whole and healthy, standing beside her own bed, looking at me with such love. She never left you, Jesus says softly, and her death, though painful, served a purpose you couldn't understand at the time. Another shift, and I see scenes I've never witnessed before, Emma's organs being transplanted into other patients. A young mother hugging her children thanks to Emma's heart. A teenager returning to school with Emma's kidneys. A grandfather walking his daughter down the aisle because of Emma's liver. 5 lives, Jesus tells me. 5 families given more time together because of Emma's gift. This is what I mean when I say death is not the end. Tears stream down my face as I watch these strangers living, loving, creating new memories because of my sister's sacrifice. Why didn't I know? Why didn't anyone tell me? Sometimes we must trust in the larger picture even when we can't see it, he replies. Just as you must trust now that your actions with Tommy will ripple out in ways you cannot yet imagine. The scenes shift again, showing me moments when I walked past the homeless man who I now know was Jesus in disguise. Each time he watched me with eyes full not of judgment, but of patient love, waiting for me to remember who I was meant to be. Why did you appear to me that way, I ask, understanding finally dawning. As someone I kept ignoring. His smile is both gentle and knowing, because sometimes the greatest lessons come from our moments of blindness. Each time you passed by, you felt a tug in your heart, didn't you? That was your true self recognizing me, even when your fear tried to look away. We walked through more memories, times I doubted, questioned, raged against God. But now I see Jesus was there in every moment, weeping with me, waiting for me to turn back to him. The love I feel radiating from him is almost unbearable in its intensity. Your anger at me was really grief in disguise, he says. And grief is a form of love. Even in your darkest moments, when you thought you'd lost your faith, you were actually holding on to it more tightly than ever. The scene changes one final time, showing me this morning filling out Tommy's report. But now I see what I couldn't see before, a light surrounding me as I wrote. Emma's spirit standing beside me, Jesus himself guiding my hand. That choice, he says, to stand up for Tommy despite your fear, that was the moment you began to truly wake up, to remember who you are and why you're here. And who am I ask, my voice trembling. Jesus takes my hands in his, and in that touch I feel all the love of heaven flowing into me. You are my beloved child. A teacher not just of mathematics and spelling, but of love and courage. A bearer of light in dark places. Emma's sister. Tommy's protector. My witness to the truth that love is stronger than fear, stronger than death itself. The truth of his words resonates through my entire being. For the first time in 10 years, I feel the weight of guilt and grief lifting from my shoulders. In its place, I feel purpose flooding and clear, strong and unstoppable. There's more to show you, he says, his eyes twinkling with something that looks like joy. Are you ready to see what happens when perfect love casts out fear completely? I nod, unable to speak through my tears. As we move forward, I feel Emma's presence growing stronger, and I know that the next revelation will change everything I thought I understood about life, death, and the incredible power of divine love. Remember, Jesus says as we step into another wave of light, what you're about to see isn't just about Tommy or Emma or even you. It's about the endless ways love finds to heal what's broken, to light what's dark, to make all things new. And with those words, we step into a truth more beautiful and terrible than anything I could have imagined. The light crystallizes into a new scene, and suddenly we're standing in a hospital waiting room I've never seen before. The date on the wall calendar reads exactly 1 week after Emma's death, a day I spent in bed, curtains drawn, refusing to face the world. Watch, Jesus says softly, directing my attention to a young woman pacing anxiously. She looks about my age now, her face drawn with exhaustion and hope. A doctor approaches her, smiling. The transplant was successful, he says. Your daughter's going to make it. The woman collapses into tears of joy, and I feel my own heart constrict. That's Jessica Martinez, Jesus explains. Her daughter received Emma's heart. She's now a cardiac surgeon herself, saving others because your sister's gift gave her the chance to grow up. The scenes begin to shift more rapidly, showing me the ripple effects of Emma's organ donations. A father of 3 who received her liver, now coaching his kids' soccer team. A blind teacher who regained sight through her corneas, teaching art to underprivileged children. Each story connects to others, creating a web of lives touched by my sister's final act of love. But why didn't I know, I ask, overwhelmed by the beauty and pain of it all? Why didn't anyone tell me? Jesus leads me to another scene myself, angry and unreachable in those early days of grief, turning away the transplant coordinator who tried to share these stories. "You weren't ready," he says gently. Sometimes the heart needs time to heal before it can understand its own role in healing others. We moved through more memories, but now I'm seeing them through new eyes. The day I chose to become a teacher, I see Emma's influence in that decision. The patience I show my students, the extra time I spend with those who struggle, all echoes of her kindness. Then we stop at a scene that makes my heart freeze. Tommy's first day in my class. I watch myself notice something familiar in his eyes, the same look Emma had when she was trying to be brave through pain. You recognize the signs because you'd seen them before. Jesus says, your pain made you sensitive to his. But I waited so long to help him, I whisper, shame flooding through me. Jesus shakes his head. You helped him every day in small ways he'll remember forever. The report was just the final step. Watch. The scene changes to Tommy sitting alone at his desk after class, carefully unfolding a note I'd written him. You matter. You are stronger than you know. You are not alone. He tucks it into his pocket like a treasure. Your words gave him hope, Jesus says, hope that helped him hold on until you were ready to take bigger action. We moved through more scenes. Times I thought I was failing, but was actually making a difference. The homeless man, Jesus in disguise, watching me struggle with my conscience each time I passed. Emma's spirit, never far away, witnessing my slow journey back to faith. Then Jesus shows me something that breaks my heart open. All the prayers I thought went unanswered. I see them rising like golden threads of light, weaving together into a tapestry of protection around Tommy, around my students, around everyone I've ever loved and worried about. Your prayers never stop, Jesus says softly. Even when you thought you'd lost your faith, your heart kept reaching out to me. That's why I chose you for Tommy. That's why I'm showing you all this now. The scene shifts one final time, and I see myself in my classroom just yesterday looking at the report form. But now I see what was invisible to me, then Emma standing beside me, her hand on my shoulder. Jesus himself in his homeless man disguise, walking past my window at exactly the moment I made my decision. The convergence of divine timing and human choice. Do you understand now? Jesus asks. Every moment of your life has been preparing you for what comes next. Emma's death wasn't the end of her story, it was the beginning of countless others. And your story, it's about to transform in ways you can't imagine. I look at him through tears, feeling the full weight of this revelation. What comes next? His smile holds both compassion and anticipation. First, you need to see one more truth about Tommy's father, about redemption, about the miraculous ways I can bring healing from the deepest wounds. Are you ready? I take a deep breath, feeling stronger than I have in years. Emma's presence surrounds me like a warm embrace, and Jesus' love fills every broken place in my heart with light. Yes, I say, show me. As we step into the next revelation, I understand that everything, Emma's death, my lost and found faith, Tommy's situation, even my accident, is being woven together into a tapestry more beautiful than I could have imagined. A tapestry of redemption, of love conquering fear, of light overcoming darkness. The air around us begins to hum with divine energy, and I know we're approaching something momentous. Something that will require every ounce of courage and faith I've rediscovered. Something that will change not just my life, but Tommy's, his father's, and countless others. Remember, Jesus says, as the light begins to pulse around us, perfect love casts out fear. And what you're about to see is perfect love in action. The light shifts again, but this time it doesn't show me a memory. Instead, we're standing on the street where I've passed the homeless man countless times. But now I'm seeing every encounter simultaneously, layered like 1,000 photographs stacked on top of each other, each one revealing a different aspect of truth. Look closely, Jesus says, and suddenly I'm watching myself walk past him day after day. Each time his eyes follow me with infinite patience and love. Each time he holds out his hand not just for money, but for recognition, for connection, for the moment when I would finally see. I was there every day, he says softly, waiting for you to remember who you are. The scenes begin to move faster. I see myself rushing past on cold mornings, my coffee clutched tight, on rainy days when I pretended not to see him, the day after Emma's death when I screamed at him to leave me alone. Every single time, his eyes held the same love they hold now. Why that disguise, I ask, my voice trembling? Why choose to appear as someone I kept ignoring? He smiles, and in that smile I see every sunrise that's ever been. Because, Cla, sometimes the greatest truths are hidden in plain sight. Whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do for me. The words from Matthew's gospel hit me like a physical blow. I watch myself walk past him again and again, each time feeling that tug in my heart that I refuse to acknowledge. Each time a little piece of my soul recognizing him, but my fear choosing to look away. But yesterday, he says, yesterday you stopped. The scene crystallizes on my last encounter with his homeless manifestation. I see myself pulling out the $20 bill, but now I see something I missed before. As our eyes met, there was a moment brief but infinite where the disguise flickered and his true nature shone through. In that moment, my soul recognized him, even if my conscious mind didn't. That was the moment, wasn't it? I whisper. The moment I started waking up. Yes, he replies. That act of kindness, small as it seemed, was your heart remembering its true nature, just as your decision to help Tommy was your courage remembering its purpose. The scene expands and I see other people walking past his homeless form. Some ignore him completely. Others, like me, feel that pull but resist it. But some, a child sharing her sandwich, an elderly woman stopping to talk, a teenager giving up his coat, they see him, truly see him, even if they don't realize it. Each act of kindness, Jesus explains. Each moment of seeing the divine in the forgotten, the broken, the overlooked, these are the moments that change the world. These are the moments when heaven touches earth. I watch as each small act of kindness creates ripples of light that spread out into the world, touching lives in ways the givers never see. The child's shared sandwich inspiring her mother to volunteer at a shelter. The elderly woman's conversation leading to a community outreach program. The teenager's coat becoming the first link in a chain of generosity that transforms his entire school. But I miss so many opportunities, I say, my heart aching at all the times I walk past. Jesus takes my hand and his touch fills me with understanding. The past is not a destination, dear one. It's a lesson. What matters is that you see now, that you understand now. The scene shifts one final time, showing me something that steals my breath every single time I walk past him. Emma's spirit walked beside me, trying to get my attention, trying to remind me of the love we used to share so freely. She never gave up on you, Jesus says, just as I never gave up on you, just as you must not give up on Tommy or his father or yourself. The revelation breaks something open inside me, the last wall I'd built around my heart after Emma's death. Tears flow freely as I finally understand the magnitude of what I'm being shown. Every moment of ignored divine presence, every opportunity for kindness I'd missed, was also a moment of patient love waiting for me to remember who I was meant to be. You chose this way to appear, I say slowly, understanding dawning, not to shame me for walking past, but to show me that love persists even when we're blind to it, that God waits patiently, loving us even when we don't love ourselves. Yes, Jesus smiles, and in his eyes I see the love that moves the stars. And now that you see, now that you remember, you're ready for what comes next. The light around us begins to pulse with new intensity, and I feel something massive approaching, a revelation even more profound than what I've just witnessed. Are you ready? He asks, though we both know everything I've seen has been preparing me for this moment. I squeeze his hand, feeling Emma's presence strong beside me, feeling my heart opening like a flower to the sun. Yes, I say, I'm ready. The light swells, and I know we're about to step into a truth that will change everything. The light coalesces into what looks like a vast tapestry of interconnected threads, each one representing a life touched by love. At its center, I see three bright points of light: myself, Tommy, and his father, James Mitchell. Watch carefully, Jesus says, for this is the pattern of redemption. The scene before us transforms, and I'm suddenly watching James Mitchell in moments I've never witnessed. I see him as a small boy cowering from his own father's rage. I watch him grow up, promising himself he'd never become that man. Then the devastating moment when he first lost control with Tommy, horror and shame washing over him even as he raised his hand. The cycle of pain Jesus explains softly, passed down like a dark inheritance. But cycles can be broken. I see James at work as a paramedic, saving lives with gentle, skilled hands, the same hands that harm his son. The contradiction tears at my heart. How can someone be both healer and hurter, I ask? That division in his heart is what torments him, Jesus replies. Each life he saves is an attempt at redemption. Each person he helps is a prayer for forgiveness. But he can't forgive himself, so the cycle continues. The tapestry shifts, showing me Tommy's perspective. I see him watching his father save a child's life on the news, pride and confusion warring in his young heart. I see him treasure the rare moments of tenderness between violent storms. I see him praying at night, not for the abuse to stop, but for his father to be healed. Such wisdom in one so young, Jesus says, and his voice carries infinite tenderness. Tommy understands something many adults never learn, that hurt people, but love can break the chain. The threads of the tapestry begin to glow brighter, and I watch in awe as they weave together. My decision to file the report, James being the first responder at my accident, Tommy's prayers, Emma's legacy of organ donation, none of it was coincidence. This is divine timing, Jesus explains. The moment when free will and grace intersect, when human choice meets heavenly purpose. I see the report I wrote, its pages scattered across my car's floor, stained with my blood. But now each word glows with purpose, each piece of evidence shining like a key to unlock chains of generational trauma. Your choice to act, Jesus continues, creates a door through which grace can enter. James Mitchell needs to save your life to remember who he truly is. Tommy needs to seek courage to find his own. And you, dear one, need this moment to fully awaken to your purpose. The tapestry pulses with light, and I see the potential future unfolding. James Mitchell, confronted with saving the life of the woman who tried to save his son, breaking down in the hospital chapel. Tommy, finding strength in the knowledge that someone fought for him. Myself, awakening to share a truth that will help others find their way back to love. It's not just about stopping abuse, I whisper, understanding finally dawning. It's about healing the wounds that cause it. Yes, Jesus smiles. Now you see the fuller picture. This is why you had to experience your own journey of loss and redemption. This is why Emma's story and Tommy's story and James's story are all woven together. The light intensifies, and I see something that takes my breath away. Every act of love, no matter how small, creates a ripple in the spiritual realm. My kindness to Tommy, Emma's organ donation, even the homeless man's blessings, each one sends out waves of light that touch countless lives. This is what I've been trying to show you, Jesus says. Love is not just an emotion, it's the most powerful force in the universe. It's what I am, what you are, what everything is meant to be. The tapestry begins to spin, faster and faster, threads of light weaving together into a pattern too beautiful to comprehend. I see my own role in it all, not just as a teacher or a sister or an advocate, but as a bearer of divine love, a channel through which grace can flow into broken places. Are you ready? Jesus asks, and I know he means more than just witnessing these truths. He's asking if I'm ready to fully embrace this purpose, to be an active participant in this divine pattern of redemption. I look at the tapestry one last time, seeing how every moment of my life, even the painful ones, has been preparing me for this. I feel Emma's presence strong beside me, her love reinforcing my courage. Yes, I say, and my voice carries a strength I've never felt before. Show me what comes next. The light around us begins to change again, and I know we're approaching the moment when everything, all these revelations, all these threads of grace and purpose will be tested in the crucible of real-world choice and consequence. The light surrounding us darkens, taking on the heavy purple-black hue of a bruise. We're entering the shadows of my soul, the places I've tried hardest to hide, even from myself. These too must be faced, Jesus says gently, for complete healing to occur. The first memory hits like a physical blow. Emma in her hospital bed, begging me to pray with her, and my bitter refusal. God isn't listening, I had snapped, turning away from her hurt expression. Now I watch as my younger self storms out, missing the moment when Emma, despite her pain, prays for me instead of herself. I abandoned her when she needed me most, I whisper, the guilt overwhelming. Watch longer, Jesus instructs. The scene continues, showing what I'd never seen before. After I left, Emma reached for her journal, writing words I'm only now discovering. Dear God, help Cla find her way back to you. She's stronger than she knows, and you'll need her strength to help others someday. I understand why you're calling me home, but please, don't let my death steal her light. More memories surface, each one more painful than the last. The times I ignored obvious signs of Tommy's abuse because I was afraid of getting involved. The homeless man Jesus in disguise reaching out on the coldest night of winter, and me pretending not to see him as I hurried to my warm car. Each moment of chosen blindness, Jesus says, was also a moment of potential awakening. I see myself standing outside Tommy's classroom after hours, hearing him cry, but walking away instead of investigating. I see the bruises I noticed but didn't document soon enough. I see every time I chose comfort over courage, safety over service, fear over love. Stop, I plead. I can't bear anymore. But the memories continue. Now I'm watching myself pack away all of Emma's things the day after her funeral, including her beloved cross necklace that she wanted me to have. I don't want any of it, I had declared, ignoring our mother's tears. God took her, he can keep her stuff too. The pain of these moments feels like it might tear me apart. Why are you showing me all this? Haven't I suffered enough? Jesus takes my hand, his touch somehow both fierce and gentle. These memories aren't meant to condemn you, but to free you. Look again, but this time see with my eyes. The scenes replay, but now I notice different details. In each moment of failure, there was also a seed of future strength. Every time I walked away, the guilt I felt was love trying to awaken. Even my anger at God was a form of engagement, a desperate attempt to make sense of suffering. Your greatest regrets, Jesus says softly, became the fertile soil from which your deepest purpose could grow. Your failures taught you compassion. Your pain taught you empathy. Even your rejection of me taught you the patience needed to help others find their way back to love. The final memory rises before us the moment I decided to file the report about Tommy. I see now how every regret, every failure, every moment of turning away had actually led me to this point, where I finally found the courage to stand up, to step in, to choose love over fear. Do you understand? Jesus asks. Your path was never about being perfect. It was about being real, being human, learning to love despite the cost. Tears stream down my face as the truth of his words sinks in. Every regret I've carried, every painful memory I've tried to bury, was actually part of my journey home to myself, to my purpose, to him. But there's one more truth you need to see, he says, one final piece of the puzzle that will show you why all of this, every triumph and tragedy, every success and failure was necessary for what comes next. The light around us begins to shift again, and I feel Emma's presence growing stronger. Something massive is approaching, a revelation that will require every ounce of strength and understanding I've gained from facing these painful truths. Are you ready? Jesus asks, though we both know this isn't really a question. It's an invitation to step fully into my purpose, carrying both my failures and my victories as essential parts of who I am meant to be. Yes, I whisper, gripping his hand tighter. Show me. The light turns a deep midnight blue, and we're suddenly standing in what appears to be a vast amphitheater of souls. Thousands of lights, each representing a life touched by pain, each seeking healing, surround us in concentric circles. These are the wounded, Jesus explains, his voice filled with infinite compassion. Every person who has ever felt abandoned by God, every child who has suffered abuse, every heart that has been broken by loss. Watch. In the center of the amphitheater, 3 lights glow brighter than the others, mine, Tommy's, and James Mitchell's. As I watch, they begin to pulse in sync, creating a harmony of light that spreads outward, touching every soul in the gathering. This is your ultimate test, Jesus says. Can you love not just Tommy, but also his father? Can you see the wounded child within the man who causes wounds? The question hits me like a physical blow. Love James Mitchell after what he's done to his son. Remember what you've learned about cycles of pain, Jesus replies gently. Look deeper. Suddenly, I'm watching James Mitchell's life unfold like a tragic play. His own father's alcoholic rages, his mother's desperate attempts to protect him, the promises he made to himself that he would never become that man. Then the moment his own temper first exploded, the horror and shame that followed, the desperate attempts to atone by saving other lives as a paramedic. "He's trapped," I whisper, understanding dawning through my tears, just like I was trapped in my grief and anger. "Yes," Jesus confirms. "And just as you needed grace to find your way back to love, so does he." The scene shifts and I'm watching my own body in the hospital, James Mitchell working frantically to save my life. I see him recognize me as Tommy's teacher, see the report about his abuse scattered across my car's floor. I watch him read the words while performing CPR, his face contorting with shame and grief. "Your accident," Jesus explains, "is his moment of grace. Your courage in writing that report, your willingness to risk everything to protect his son, these actions will break open his heart, but only if you're willing to extend the same love to him that I've shown you." How, I ask, my voice trembling. How can I love someone who has caused so much pain? "The same way I love you," Jesus answers, his eyes holding mine with infinite tenderness, by seeing past the sin to the soul beneath, by recognizing that the greatest acts of healing often come from those who have known the deepest wounds. The amphitheater of souls begins to pulse with a new light, and I understand that this is the crux of everything I've been shown. It's not enough to save Tommy, it's not enough to expose the abuse. For true healing to occur, the cycle itself must be broken, and that can only happen through a love powerful enough to transform both victim and perpetrator. This is what Emma understood Jesus says softly. Why her last prayer was not just for you, but for everyone who would be touched by your journey back to love. I feel Emma's presence wrap around me like a warm embrace, and suddenly I know what I have to do. When I wake up, if I wake up, I'll need to find a way to help not just Tommy, but his father too. To break the cycle not through condemnation, but through compassion. It will be the hardest thing you've ever done, Jesus warns. Harder even than facing your own pain. Are you willing? I look out at the sea of souls, each one carrying their own wounds, each one needing the kind of love that transcends judgment. I think of Emma's last words to me, "Love is stronger than death, Cla, remember that." Yes, I say, and feel the truth of it resonate through my entire being. I'm willing. The light in the amphitheater grows blindingly bright, and I know we're approaching the moment when all these lessons will be put to the test. The moment when I'll have to choose between judgment and mercy, between fear and love, between holding on to pain and allowing grace to heal us all. Then Jesus says, his smile containing all the hope of heaven, "You're ready for what comes next." The scene around us transforms once more, but this time we're back at the accident site. I watch from above as James Mitchell works desperately to save my life, his paramedics training warring with the recognition dawning in his eyes as he sees the scattered pages of my report. "Please, God," he whispers, performing chest compressions with trembling hands, "don't let her die. Not like this. Not because of me." Jesus stands beside me, his presence steady as we witness this crucial moment. "Watch," he says softly. "Watch how grace works through human hands, even broken ones." I see James find the page where I detailed the bruises on Tommy's arms, his face crumpling as he reads my careful documentation while simultaneously working to keep my heart beating. His partner is calling out vital signs, but James seems to be in two places at once, saving my life while his own world crumbles around him. He's reading every word I whisper, even while he's trying to save me. "Yes," Jesus replies. "This is the moment when healer and hurter become one, when the man who causes pain must choose to preserve life. Watch what happens next." James Mitchell's hands never falter in their life-saving rhythm, even as tears begin to stream down his face. I hear him praying, really praying, perhaps for the first time since he was a boy hiding from his own father's rage. "God," he pleads, "if you save her, I'll stop. I'll get help. Just please don't let Tommy lose another person who tried to protect him." The scene expands, and I see Tommy himself sitting in his classroom, unaware that at this very moment his father is facing the truth of his actions while fighting to save my life. I see the report pages stained with my blood, becoming a kind of sacred text, the words of truth that will finally break the cycle of violence. Your willingness to die for what's right, Jesus explains, is what makes him willing to face his own death, the death of the person he became, the death of the lies he's been living. I watch as James Mitchell rides with me in the ambulance, still performing CPR, still praying, still crying. His partner keeps telling him to let someone else take over, but he refuses. I have to save her, he insists. I have to. He doesn't just mean your life, does he? I ask Jesus. No, he answers gently. He's trying to save himself, his son, the man he wanted to be before fear and anger took control. This is what redemption looks like: messy, painful, beautiful. The scene shifts to the hospital, where James Mitchell finally has to step back and let others take over. I watch him stumble to the chapel, fall to his knees, and break completely. His sobs echo in the empty space as years of shame and guilt pour out of him. I'm sorry, he weeps. God, I'm so sorry. Please help me stop. Please help me change. Jesus turns to me, his eyes filled with infinite compassion. Do you understand now? Your accident, your report, your willingness to stand up for Tommy, it's all part of a larger healing. James Mitchell needed to save your life to remember how to save his own soul. I watch as James pulls out his phone with shaking hands, dials a number. Helen, he says to who I assume is his wife, I need to tell you something. About Tommy. About me. I need help. This is just the beginning, Jesus says softly. There will be hard days ahead, counseling, legal consequences, rebuilding trust. But this moment, this choice to finally face the truth, this is where healing begins. The light around us begins to shift again, and I feel Emma's presence growing stronger. There's one more thing you need to see, Jesus tells me, one more truth that will help you understand why everything, your sister's death, your lost faith, this accident had to happen exactly as it did. I nod, unable to speak through my tears. The love I feel for everyone in this story, Tommy, James, myself, is almost overwhelming in its intensity. It's not a love that ignores wrong or excuses abuse, but a love that believes in the possibility of healing, of change, of redemption. Are you ready? Jesus asks, holding out his hand. Yes, I whisper, taking it. Show me. The light around us softens to a gentle golden glow, and suddenly she's there, Emma, just as beautiful as I remember, but whole and radiant with a light that seems to come from within. She looks exactly as she did before the cancer, her long blonde hair shining, her blue eyes full of that familiar mischievous sparkle. Hi, sis, she says, and her voice is everything I've longed to hear for 10 years. I try to speak but can't find words through my tears. Jesus steps back, giving us space for this moment I never thought would come. You've been so angry, Emma says, softly, stepping closer, carrying so much pain, fighting so hard against love because you thought it failed us. I couldn't save you, I managed to whisper. I prayed and prayed, and he let you die anyway. Emma's smile is gentle but knowing. No, Cla, he gave me a different kind of saving. Look. With a wave of her hand, the space around us fills with images, all the lives touched by her organ donations. The mother who received her heart, now helping other transplant patients. The teacher with her cornets, showing children how to see beauty in the world. The father with her liver, coaching his daughter's soccer team. 5 lives saved directly, Emma explains. But watch what happened next. The images multiply, showing how each person she saved went on to help others. A ripple effect of kindness and healing that's still spreading outward, touching hundreds, maybe thousands of lives. Your death nearly destroyed my faith, I say, watching the beautiful pattern of influence expand, but it strengthened theirs. Yes, Emma nods. And now you understand why. Sometimes the greatest gift we can give is how we leave. Sometimes the deepest healing comes through our wounds. She takes my hands in hers, and I'm amazed that I can feel her touch, warm, real, alive in a way that transcends physical life. That's why you have to go back, she continues. Tommy needs you. His father needs you. All the other wounded souls who will find healing through your story, they need you. But I'm scared, I admit. What if I'm not strong enough? Emma laughs, and the sound is like music. You're my big sister. You've always been strong enough. You just forgot for a while. Besides, she adds with a twinkle in her eye, you won't be doing it alone. She reaches for something around her neck, the cross necklace I refused to take after her death. It's time, she says, holding it out to me. Time to remember who you are. Time to believe in love again. As she places the necklace around my neck, I feel something shift inside me like a key turning in a lock, like light filling a dark room. All the anger, all the doubt, all the fear I've carried since her death begins to dissolve. I've never been far away, Emma says softly. Every time you talked to my pictures, I was listening. Every time you needed strength, I was there. And I'll still be there, cheering you on as you help Tommy and his father find their way to healing. The light around us begins to pulse with new intensity, and I know our time is growing short. Do I have to leave you again, I ask, my heart aching. Emma's smile is radiant. You're not leaving me, Cla, you're taking me with you. In your heart, in your memories, in your renewed faith. Besides, she adds with that familiar mischievous grin, somebody has to keep you from being too serious all the time. Jesus steps forward then, his presence filling the space with warmth. It's time, he says gently. Emma hugs me one last time, and I try to memorize everything about this moment, her laugh, her light, her love. Remember, she whispers in my ear, love is stronger than death. Always has been, always will be. As she steps back, I touch the cross at my neck and feel strength flow through me. I know now what I have to do, who I have to be, how this story needs to end. I'm ready, I say, and mean it with every fiber of my being. The light begins to build around us, and I prepare myself for what comes next, the return, the healing, the work of love that awaits. The first thing I become aware of is the steady beeping of hospital monitors. My body feels heavy, like I'm wearing a suit of lead, but Emma's cross still rests warm against my chest. I open my eyes slowly, adjusting to the harsh fluorescent lights of the ICU. Mark is there, slumped in a chair beside my bed, his hand holding mine. When he sees my eyes open, his face crumples with relief. Cla, he whispers, pressing my hand to his lips. You're back. How long? My voice is raspy from the breathing tube they must have removed. 3 days, he says, tears streaming down his face. They almost lost you twice. I remember everything, Jesus, Emma, the revelations about love and purpose. It feels more real than the hospital room around me. Before I can speak again, a nurse rushes in, alerted by my changing vitals. Mrs. Hartman, she says, checking my monitors. You've given us quite a scare. There's someone who's been waiting to speak with you, if you're feeling up to it. I know who it is before she says his name. James Mitchell, I whisper. The paramedic who saved me. Mark's grip on my hand tightens. He's been here every day, he tells me, when he's not at the police station or in counseling. The nurse leaves to get him, and I use those moments to center myself, remembering everything I learned in that space between life and death. When James Mitchell walks in, I hardly recognize him. Gone is the respected paramedic's confidence. In its place is a man broken open by truth and grace. Mrs. Hartman, he begins, his voice shaking. Cla, I correct him gently. Please call me Cla. He sinks into the chair Mark vacates for him, his face lined with exhaustion and shame. I read your report, he says. While I was trying to save you, I read what you wrote about Tommy, about the bruises, about his fear. And I knew I had to stop. I reach for his hand, ignoring the pain that shoots through my arm. How is he? Safe, James says, his voice breaking. With my sister while I get help. I turned myself in the day after your accident. I'm in counseling, anger management. Helen and I both are. We want to break the cycle for Tommy's sake. And for your sake, I add softly. He looks up, surprised by the lack of condemnation in my voice. How can you even look at me? After what I did to my son? After you almost died trying to save him? I touch Emma's cross with my free hand, feeling its strength flow through me. Because love is stronger than fear, I tell him. Because healing is possible. Because God's grace is big enough for all of our brokenness. James breaks down then, sobbing beside my hospital bed. I hold his hand through it, remembering Jesus' words about love that transcends judgment, about the wounded becoming healers. When he can speak again, he tells me everything about his own abusive father, about his desperate attempts to be different, about the shame that kept him trapped in the cycle of violence. He tells me about the moment in the ambulance when he realized God was giving him a chance to save a life instead of destroying one. Your accident, he says quietly, saved both our lives, Tommy's and mine. I think of the divine tapestry Jesus showed me, how every thread of pain and redemption was woven together for this purpose. God works in mysterious ways, I say. The department's putting me on leave, James continues. I'll serve some time, probably actions have consequences, but after I've done the work, gotten the help I need, I want to use my story to help other fathers break free, to show them there's a way out. I smile, feeling Emma's presence strong around us. That sounds like healing to me. The light through my hospital window takes on that familiar golden glow, and for a moment I swear I see Jesus in his homeless man disguise standing on the street below, smiling up at us. Everything has changed, yet everything is exactly as it should be. This is just the beginning of our story, mine, Tommy's, James's. The real work of healing lies ahead. But for the first time in 10 years, I'm not afraid of what comes next. 6 months after my accident, I stand before my 3rd grade class again, Emma's cross catching the morning light. Tommy sits in the front row, his eyes brighter now, his shoulders straighter. The bruises are gone, replaced by something I never thought I'd see again, hope. He's living with his aunt while James completes his rehabilitation program and counseling. Every Saturday they have supervised visits where father and son work on healing together. It's not perfect, but it's progress. Love is like that, patient, persistent, willing to work through the hard parts. Mrs. Hartman, Tommy says after class one day, hanging back as the other students leave, "Dad wanted me to give you this." It's a letter written from the rehabilitation center where James is serving his reduced sentence. Inside, I find a newspaper clipping about a program he's starting, support groups for fathers struggling with anger, with breaking cycles of abuse. He's using his story, his shame, his redemption to help others find their way to healing. The changes ripple outward, touching more lives than I could have imagined. Sarah, my colleague who supported my decision to file the report, starts a school program for identifying and preventing abuse. Other teachers begin to speak up about students they're concerned about. The walls of silence crumble, one brave voice at a time. I share my near-death experience with those who need to hear it, not the whole story, but enough to give them hope. I tell them about love that's stronger than fear, about grace that can heal even the deepest wounds. Some nights I speak at support groups for families touched by abuse. Other times I sit with parents who are struggling, showing them there's a way out of the darkness. Emma's presence remains strong, especially in these moments. Sometimes I catch glimpses of her in the way sunlight filters through classroom windows, or in the laughter of children at play. Her cross has become a symbol not of loss, but of love's ability to transform everything it touches. 1 year after the accident, I receive a call from the transplant coordinator I once turned away. She tells me about a new recipient of a donated heart, a young boy who'd been caught in the cycle of abuse. He's healing, she says. Body and soul, the pattern continues, life creating life, love healing love. Tommy graduates from my class with honors, but stays in touch. Every now and then he leaves drawings on my desk, not of shadowy figures anymore, but of light breaking through clouds, of hands reaching out to help others. His father's weekly letters tell of slow but steady progress, of bridges being rebuilt with patience and truth. The homeless man, my vision of Jesus, still appears sometimes near the school. Now, though I stop to talk, to share, to remember, each conversation feels like a continuation of the lessons I learned in that space between life and death. On the anniversary of my accident, I visit Emma's grave for the first time in years. The morning sun breaks through the clouds as I lay flowers beside her headstone. "You were right," I whisper, touching the cross at my neck. "Love is stronger than death." A breeze rustles the leaves, and I swear I hear her laugh. In that moment, I understand completely there is no ending to this story, only new beginnings. Every act of love creates ripples that go on forever, touching lives we may never see, healing hearts we may never know. Back in my classroom, I look at the faces of my students, each one carrying their own story, their own potential for light. Tommy's empty seat will soon be filled by another child who might need someone to notice, to care, to stand up and say enough. And I'm ready. The fear is gone, replaced by a purpose larger than myself. Every morning I touch Emma's cross and remember love is patient, love is kind, love never fails. Every day I choose to believe in the power of grace to heal what's broken, in the ability of truth to set us free, in the endless possibility of redemption. This is my testimony, my purpose, my truth, that in our deepest wounds we find our greatest healing. In our darkest moments we discover our strongest light. And in the end, love truly does conquer all, not through force or fear, but through the quiet persistence of grace, one heart at a time. If this story of faith, redemption, and divine love has touched your heart, please take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experiences and reflections matter, and they may help others find hope in their own journeys. Support our team by subscribing to the channel. Together, we can spread more stories of healing and transformation. Share this video with friends and family who might need to hear this message of hope. Hit the like button if you believe in the power of love to heal all wounds. Every like helps us reach more souls searching for light in their darkness. Join our growing community of believers and seekers. Your support makes these stories possible.